unbelievable. It's already a year old since we built this aquarium with Tommy in the gallery. This is the largest aquarium in the showroom, and today we will do some maintenance on it. Welcome to the beautiful world of aquascaping. So this aquarium is built a year ago, and since then most of the aquarium plants was in perfect shape until I would say like 8th or 10th months of the aquarium age. In the past few weeks we start to see some aging on the plants, on the moss for example. This is something what we need to fix today. We usually keep the aquariums for a year. And after a year, we do a rescape to have a fresh layout for the visitors. This tank is almost at the point when we're thinking about to redo this and rescape it. But until we figure out what to do with it, we do a maintenance session and put this thing back to its shape. And what is the problem? We have some aging moss on the top, and also we have a lot of algae eaters which is eating the moss. Monte Carlo is not that bushy as we would like to do. Autodoser is set up to use the ADA fertilizers on this aquarium, mainly with Brightly K, Brightly Mineral. We have some iron and we have Excel. So what is the problem then? Well, the problem is the missing part of the nitrates probably, and that's why you see some struggling green plants in it. The pro side of not dosing nitrates is we're just slowing down the growth. One way to preserve a layout and have it run for a very long time is to use, call it lean fertilizers, so without phosphate and nitrates. On the other hand, some other plants like the Hygrophila pinnatifida just grown in a beautiful color. Iron is helping a lot on the red plants, so we have the Ludwigia palustris and we have some glandulosa, also the pinnatifida. So iron works here, but nitrate would be nice as an extra addition. So if I can tweak something, I would do that definitely. CO2 is driven by a pH controller. Maybe we don't have such a rich CO2 injection, but we have a stable injection rate. Because of that, we've not seen hair algae and some other algae which is related to the CO2 instability. You can check the build video and the previous videos as well, what we had in this layout. We're using the same filtration, which is running for, I don't know, but I think we started to use it in the old gallery, so it's like 10 plus years old now. We have the Sora RGBs, which is 30 centimeter above the aquarium, so that's the general recipe. Now about the maintenance, there's two ways to do maintenance. One is like what Balázs do usually. He's just doing crazy transitions from one point to the other. The other type of maintenance, when you try to preserve the look and just trimming back the plants a bit, and in general you're not making as much changes. Definitely we need to remove the big part of the Hygrophila pinnatifida here. We need to fix the moss because it looks really unnatural in the layout, and we're thinking about to introduce a few new plants to the aquarium, but we're not changing the general planting here. And now we can stop the filtration, stop the CO2 and start the maintenance. I need to use a razor to step up to the aquarium and even will not reach the back side of the aquarium to trimming the plants correctly. Today Gary will be my help for the maintenance, so it's two people job here. I will do the trimming, he will help me to lower the water level and do the general maintenance task. We've stopped the filter and we'll remove some part of the water, probably 1/3 or so, to work with the moss. And in the next step, we will remove half of the water from this aquarium and do the rest of the trimming. So let's get it started. We frequently get the questions in the comments section that where to place all these glass pipes in the aquarium. In this aquarium we have both of them on the front side because we don't have space in the back to place the glass pipes. There we have the smaller filter, so that's kind of like a standard glass pipe size. And this one is a custom one. so you don't have to use those ugly PVC pipes or whatever if it's in a visible part of the aquarium. By the way, we have a very good video on the channel, I think with Tommy, who explained the lily pipe position and how to place all these inflows and outflows in aquarium, so please check that out if you missed that. A bit more about the CO2 part, because that is always a question, how to do the CO2 in such a large aquarium. We have an external CO2 reactor, and Balázs had a video on that. CO2 reactor is giving you the possibility to have a very good CO2 enriched water all around the aquarium. So you don't need to worry about the if the diffuser gets clogged, for example, or you miss the maintenance. The CO2 reactor is always giving a stable CO2 injection rate in your aquarium. The pH is just naturally changing as the soil gets older. I think we have also a video on this one, the GHL aquarium control video, please check that out. Some of the pH controllers have remote connection like the GHL, but the one what we are using here is kind of like a demo unit from a South Korean manufacturer. This is something new, but as you can see, we've started using from day one on this aquarium and did a wonderful job as well. Originally, I wanted to remove completely the moss from this tree trunk, but the guys just glued the moss here. So if I remove it, the glue will be visible. By changing the moss here to a fresh one, the fresh moss is lighter on colors. By the way, you can still use this moss, so it's not something what you need to throw away. We need to do something probably about the Monte Carlo, but it's tied and grown on the ironwood so well that I don't know if we want to replace. We will probably just replace the ones which really looks bad. But this one, I see some fresh growth in it. So if we start to dose some nitrate, the plant will grow back. You can trim the moss, or you can simply just tear it. Tearing the moss will give a more natural look. When you start to use some glue there, the glue is hardly removable from the decoration. Please make sure to remove the dead leaves from the Microsorum, for example. So all the black leaves need to be removed, because later on it has more chance to get covered by algae. Start to remove the Pinnatifida, because that's the large part here which is giving a weird look to the aquarium. If you let it grow, and especially if you're using rich fertilizers, Pinnatifida will grow like a tree. So make sure to keep it compact, and then the colors will be deeper. The more nitrates and heavier fertilizers you're using, rich fertilizers, the faster will be the growth and the more trimming is needed. Luckily, Pinnatifida is a plant which is floating on the surface once you trim it. I heard that a lot from customers that they don't want to use moss because it's just stuck in everywhere, or Riccia. But if you have this small filter from Eden or some other manufacturer, then you can remove these floating parts, and the trimming shouldn't be harder than just trimming other plants in your aquarium. We've trimmed the Pinnatifida here, removed a lot of moss. As you can see, some of the plants were glued. We'll put some fresh plants on it. The plants what we've planted into the background, the Ludwigia palustris. I see some maybe arcuata. Those plants just didn't have luck to thrive. We decided to choose some longer leaf plants to giving that curtain effect in the back. Thick leaf plant is Vallisneria spiralis tiger. It grows like 50 or 70 centimeter, so will be a perfect background plant, and we only will see the top part of it with the red color. We have the Cyperus helferi, which is a lighter green plant, will give a very dense curtain, so I don't want to use too much of it. Something else, because we have so many dark green color, so that is Myriophyllum brasiliensis. This is something which we probably need to trim a lot, but the plant is growing very densely. Something else that we are thinking about is this limited edition Nasia SP Gold from Aqua. Maybe the orange color is something which is rarely seen in the showroom, so that could be a nice addition. By the way, in the meantime, we found a larger pin set to reach the lower part of the background. These are the pinhead pin sets from ADA, my favorite tool for most of the planting, but if you're planting some delicate plants like the Vallisneria, thicker head pin set, that's a much better option.
I don't have to party to have fun, you see. I got different hobbies and that's all I need. Some say life is boring, but I disagree. I wake up and live my dream. Someday soon I'm gonna make it. Yeah, all hard work's gonna be worth it.
We've trimmed the top part of the Ludwigia, and look at that. This is Ludwigia palustris. With this light, this become really deep red. We saved the top part of it and we will plant it back. By the end of the day, the plants will be shorter and still have a beautiful color. We've removed the moss from all of the trees and removed the older plants. I need to plant it back, the new plants, to the background.
I'm gonna try, gonna try, gonna try. Work till I die, till I die, till I die. I'm gonna fail and get up, cause I'm not giving up on my dream. I'm gonna cry, gonna cry, gonna cry. Chasing the highs, yeah, the highs, yeah, the highs. I'm gonna fail and get up, cause I'm not giving up on my dream.
To save the time, meanwhile we're working with Gary, to save the time we've plugged in the skimmer to help skim down the floating leaves, and that's actually very helpful. That's what we frequently do when we are trimming the carpet, for example, Areucaris or Hemianthus scuba. The skimmer comes very handy. Almost all the plants are removed what we wanted. Also started to do a water change to clean up the mess. In the meantime, a few more plants will be added in to have that final look. We decided to add 2 more pots of Vallisneria spiralis tiger. The job is done. We've finished the maintenance session on the aquarium. It took like 2 hours in total. It wasn't that easy, even with Gary. We did this together. I think that's it. Now we start to fill up the aquarium, which will take probably an hour, and you will see the aquarium 2 weeks later, how it looks after the maintenance ended. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next week. Bye.